This is the inside of the Bailey Advance 76-2. If I now move to the main control panel, you can see at the moment that it's just displaying the time, and it's also letting us know that we're currently hooked up to mains electricity. If I now press the button just here, we can now turn the 12-volt system on. We can now turn the water pump on and off just here. We need the water pump on so we can get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler if it's been drained down. Next we have the master switch for all of the onboard lights. These can then all be individually turned on and off on their own switches. And then we also have awning light on and off just here. All other information is then given via scrolling. So we have condition of the leisure battery. We have how many amps are being drawn off the leisure battery. At the moment it's going to show 0% because we're hooked up to mains electricity, so it's constantly under charge. We then have battery selection. We can only select the leisure battery on this model. We cannot select the vehicle. Internal temperature. The settings menu, to get into this, just press the enter button and then just use the arrows to go through it and change anything you require. So mainly it's to just change alarms, etc. on and off, just depending on your own personal preference, whether or not you want to know if your batteries are low, etc. or your water levels low. We then have how much water is in the waste tank and how much water is in the fresh tank. And then we end up back at the beginning again. To alter the time, just hold the enter button in and then it will begin to flash, and then just use your arrow buttons to adjust. If we now move to the trimmer control panel for the heating and hot water system, to turn this on all we need to do is just press the button just here. And you'll now see we have a series of icons, and as I begin to rotate this button, they will begin to flash. So if we start with the first icon just there, this one is for your heating. All you now do, just click, and you'll see that the heating is off. All I now do is just rotate and pick whatever temperature I would like it to be inside the motorhome, and it will go right the way up to 30 degrees. Once you've decided, just press to store it in, and you'll now see little flames appeared above. That little flame there just represents the heating system, and it's just letting you know that you've set a parameter. Whenever the heating is in full operation, it will begin to flash, and it will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. If we now move to the next icon, this one here is for your heating, and if I now click on it, hot water is off. All I now do is just rotate, and we can heat hot water in eco mode, which will give us a temperature of about 40 degrees. If I rotate again, we can heat it in hot, which will give us a water temperature of about 60 degrees. And if I rotate again, we can also perform a boost on the boiler. Boost is very handy, especially in the winter months if you want to get your water up to temperature really quickly, or if there's going to be more than one of you having a shower in quick succession of each other. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, it will turn the heating off because it needs to use the extra power to perform it. And again, the icon will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. The reason the heating is not coming on is because it is well above 30 degrees in here at the moment, because it is a very warm day. If we now move across to the next icon, this one here is power selection. So at the moment, to heat the hot water, I am using mains electricity using 2 kilowatts. If I rotate the button, I can lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt, which is very handy if we're on a low amp site to try and avoid tripping. If you have both power sources available to you, you can run on a mixture of gas and mains at 2 kilowatts, or a mixture of gas and mains at 1. This setting here Again, is very handy in the winter months. It will get you up to temperature really quickly, and it will only consume the gas as it's required. And then lastly, if we have no main supply available to us, we can just run on gas. Next, we have the circulation fan for the heating system. So we can either run the fan in eco mode or high. If I now turn off both the hot water and the heating and now return to it, I can also use the fan to vent the motorhome, and this has a fan speed of 1 to 10, and then it will just push the air around, which is very handy on a warm day. Next, if we drop to the lower icons, this one here is for a basic timer. So it will firstly ask you when you would like the system to come on. So just select, and then when you would like it to go back off again. Once you've done this, then just literally select what you would like on within that period. So let's say we want the heating at 18 degrees. We want water at 60. We want to be using the dual fuel function. And we'll leave the circulation fan in eco. Once we've done all this, timer on or off. Now if I activate the timer, you'll now see, because those parameters are within that time period, the timer is now running. If I now go back to it, I can now turn the timer back off again, and when we go back in, we can then alter it again. Next we have clock set. So again, just click and then just twist to change. And then lastly we have the settings menu, and within here we have offset, which is just for the thermostat, which is just here. If you don't think it's quite correct, you can just slightly adjust it. Temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of this screen, 12 or 24 hour clock. Change the language. Index, which is really just for the technicians in the workshop, it just lets them know what software it's running. And then lastly, full factory reset. From time to time, these control panels can throw up error codes. It will usually be letting you know if you're trying to run something on main supply and you don't have mains connected, or if you're trying to run something on gas and your gas isn't turned on, or the bottle's depleted, etc. And it will also throw an error code if it's on and you turn this control panel off, because they are linked. And as you can see, an error code appears firstly as a warning triangle, and if I now go to that warning triangle and click on it, it will then display a series of letters and numbers, and then within the manual, if you Google it, it will tell you what the problem is. So W255H is the error code for 12 volt lost. Reason being is turn the control panel off. So if I now turn it back on again, 9 times out of 10 the error code will just automatically disappear. So as long as you rectify whatever problem, it will disappear. Sometimes you will get another code appear if it's got confused. Easiest way is to make sure that nothing is still running along the top here, and then it will then reset itself, and then you'll be able to control it again. If you cannot get an error code to disappear, I always suggest good old-fashioned turn it off, turn it back on again. If this doesn't work, you can always do a factory reset, because sometimes that's all these control panels require. If I now come down to the bench seat just here and remove the cushions, if I now lift up, we can see the location of the consumer unit. So at the back here the battery charger sits, so do make sure that if you are putting items in here that you do not cover these vents, or otherwise it will overheat. At the front here we have the main strip switches. So we have the individual MCBs and then the main RCD and test button just there. So if anything's not working on main supply, just check to see if you've tripped. And then beneath that we have the 12 volt fuses. Again, they're all labelled up, so if anything's not working on 12 volt, just check to see if you've blown a fuse. At the top here we do have a little instructions sticker on what you should do before connecting up to mains electricity, etc. So it's always a good idea just to read through this to make sure you fully understand it. If I now come across to the other bench seat, and again just remove the cushions, and again just lift up, we have the location of the Truma Combi boiler just here. To drain the boiler down for winterization, it's just done on the yellow lever just there. Firstly, make sure the water pump is turned off, and then just flip it up and it will then begin to drain the boiler down. Leave it up like so, and then also if you are fully winterizing, it's always advisable to then also open up all of the taps, because this will help release any airlocks in the system and help it drain down more thoroughly. When it comes to refilling the boiler, make sure the taps are reclosed, fill up the fresh water tank, make sure that the drain valve is back in the closed position, and then turn the water pump on, and it will then begin to reprime the system. You will then need to open the taps. They'll cough and they'll splutter as they force the air out. Once they're running freely on both hot and cold, then reclose, and then the system will fully reprime itself. If I now just lift up here, we have the location of the leisure battery just here. And then in the overhead locker just here, we have the solar panel regulator. This is currently charging both leisure and vehicle battery. By pressing this bit up here, you can alter how much charge is going to each battery, or whether or not you just want it to literally be half-half to each one. Dometic fridge just here, currently in the off position. If I now flick it across the little picture of the 2-pin plug, we're now running the fridge on main supply as long as we're connected up. Next we have a picture of a battery, so we have 12 volt maintain. This is the function we have it on when we want to keep the fridge cold whilst on the move. It will only work whilst the engine is running. And then lastly we have gas. If we're going to run the fridge on gas, we now need to come across to the temperature control, and what we need to do is hold it in and push the igniter, and then when it's lit, this line here will drift out of the white into the green. Once you let go, as long as it stays in the green, you know it's lit. If it drops back off again, just repeat the process. It may take a couple of times, especially when a new gas bottle has been installed, as there may be some air in the system. As soon as you turn it back to anything else, it will then automatically put itself back out. Removable freezer box. It's just literally a clip there and on that side. Microwave just here, plugged in up the top here. This is an eco model, so you do need to press the eco button to turn the unit on before use. Then we have the usual quick start, stop just here, auto cook, defrost, etc. Do make sure that the contents are removed for travel. Hob just here. And then beneath that, the oven and the grill. Gas isolation taps, that's just there for cooker, fridge, heating and hot water, all in the on position. Quite frankly, can stay like that. I always say if you do smell gas, just go to the source and turn the gas bottle off. And then tucked to the back there we have a plug plugged in, which is for the fridge. Light switches and TV plug-in points just there, and then the television aerial is just in the overhead locker just here. So digital amplifier just here, on and off just on the switch just here, and then control the boost on the dial just there. Undo the collar and then pop the mast up. Twist it into the position that you require. The green window represents the back of the aerial, so you know which way it's facing. H stands for horizontal. You can flip the aerial into the vertical position just by turning the tail just here. Do make sure that the aerial is down for travel and that the red dot is facing you. Fresh water tank just here. You can gain access just there to the top of the tank for additional cleaning. We then also have the fresh water tank drain tap just there, and then we also have the pressure switch just there. So if you are finding that the water pump is massively overrunning, you can just slightly adjust it. Only very, very tiny little movements, never spin it completely round. And then we have the freestanding table. Wardrobe. And then also in here we have the infill for the front bed. To make the front bed, just slightly lift up and then just slide out. And then all we need to now do is just drop the cushions into place. And as you can see, once all the cushions are in place, it makes a very good size French double bed. Both seats swivel round just on the front levers, and then they are both height adjustable just on the side levers. If we now move to the back of the motorhome, we have the washroom. So we have the shower cubicle just here. Do make sure that the shower screen is clipped back for travel. We then have the basin and the Thetford toilet. To open to the cassette, just slide the grey lever across, push the flush on the top, if this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you do feel resistance, just make sure that nobody's left it open. Level indicator just here, so it will illuminate to let you know when the cassette needs emptying.